So today, what I'm going to be talking about is kind of mastering your health, and I hope to do this in a slightly different style than I've presented in previous years. So here we go. What we're going to talk about is our health, and I'm going to do it according to body system. And I'll break that down in just a minute. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to try to identify, based on the symptoms and based on the body systems that we go through, which body system is attempting to speak to you, what is being the loudest, what is asking of most of your attention. And as we go along, if you want to share that kind of information in the chat, I would love to be able to see that. And in addition, I'm also going to be talking about some simple lifestyle tips to help with these physical symptoms and with each of these body systems. And I always throw in some supplements to promote wellness. You know, I think supplements are great when you're attempting to give the body a nudge in the direction that you want it to go. And I teach this to my students all the time. A lot of people come to a naturopath or to a doctor of natural medicine, and they're looking for, no conventional meds, no medication, but they're looking for the natural pill that they can put into their mouth that will allow them to experience health. And I have to say that doing lifestyle changes are so much more powerful than putting a pill in your mouth. So while the supplements are there and they're helpful and they can sometimes increase motivation, it's really like the changing of the lifestyle that you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Hang on, I'm going to try to see if I can see the chat at the same time. I don't know if that shows up. Okay, excellent. So here is a version of the different body systems. Now, I am by no means anti-conventional medicine. However, conventional medicine, when they look at the human body, they separate the cardiovascular from the skin, from the digestive, from the nervous system. Like, it's all separate. And you all go see a different specialist depending on your symptoms. But the reality is that all of these are interconnected and all of these are intertwined so very intimately. And you will see this as I talk about the different types of supplementation. A lot of times you'll see the same supplements popping up for these various body systems. So what I'm going to be talking about today, I wish I could talk about all of them, but I really zeroed in on what I think will be the most beneficial for you guys as first responders. We will be talking about the digestive system. We'll be talking about the musculoskeletal system, the endocrine system, which is your hormones in your body, the nervous system, and I think those are all the systems that I'm going to touch on. So if you guys want to hop into the chat and take a guess at, or maybe which system of your body's already speaking to you. Is it the muscles and the joints and the low back pain? Is it the hormone fluctuations in the sleep-wake cycle? Is it the anxiety and the depression of the nervous system? Which body system is speaking to you loudly right now? Okay, and so I think I got a couple of people chiming in here. Digestion, gut, endocrine and gut, nervous and digestive, nervous system. Lovely, because I'm going to cover all of those that you guys have mentioned. This is really, really great. Okay, so here, the nervous system dysregulation. I start with the nervous system because it is the main power generator. It is the connector to all of the other body systems. When we see dysfunction, we often see headaches. We see the mood disorders, and not even just like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, PTSD. I mean, just like your common overwhelm, your common irritability, like basic stress, that all comes from the nervous system. Insomnia, memory difficulties, ADHD, difficulty concentrating, and fatigue, as you'll see, is such a big one popping up in all the body systems. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about 3 lifestyle tips for a healthy nervous system. One is mindfulness and deep breathing. I'm sure you guys are very aware of all the benefits for that, but we'll talk more about that in just a minute. Cold immersions, it's all the rage, people jumping into their ice baths on TikTok and Instagram all over the place. And then we're going to talk a little bit about caffeine, but those are 3 areas in which you can make a huge change in the health of your nervous system. So when we talk about mindfulness and deep breathing, You guys are not a stranger to understanding the benefits. I'm sure you've even practiced this a number of times. But what I find for my patients, and even for myself, the hurdle is maintaining the practice. And I will mention this a few times throughout this presentation. If you are looking to change something in your life, if you are wanting to make a difference and it involves you doing something, I encourage you to make that the very first thing you do in the morning. So if you are like, I really want to meditate. I really want to be mindful. I want to practice deep breathing, or even if I want to start exercising and running and walking or whatever it is. If you make the time as the very first thing you do in the morning, you're going to be more successful at doing it. If you put it off and say, I'll do it at lunch, or I'll do it at dinner, or I'll do it before bedtime, if you're like anywhere normal like me, it'll never happen. And so I encourage you, when you wake up in the morning, take care of what you need to take care of, meaning like go to the bathroom and get a sip of water, start the coffee, and then go and find a dedicated space that you have set up for your mindfulness or your deep breathing practice, and then just set a timer. It's 2 minutes. And then once you do 2 minutes consistently, then you do 5 minutes. And then ideally you'd get up to 20 minutes. I mean, most people who are meditation masters, they say you should be practicing about an hour twice a day, which I don't know who has the time to be able to meditate that long, but my own personal experience at 20 minutes most days of the week is just this juicy, juicy piece. But you don't have to spend that long. If you're doing 2 minutes a day, you're going to get benefit from this. But key points, make sure you do it first thing in the morning before you begin the rest of your routine, or in the evening, depending on what time of day is your time of day, night and morning. And then set that timer and hold yourself accountable to it. You don't have to do many more than 2-3 minutes. Cold immersions. A simple way to get the benefit of cold is to finish your shower with about 30 seconds as cold as you can stand it. Now, I think my sister is listening in, and I know that she cannot tolerate cold water very well at all. So for her, it might just be like, it's less than warm is what her cold is going to be. Conversely, some people are really go-getters. We live in Arizona. The water hardly ever gets truly cold, but I have some students talk about how they do it when they live in like Maine or New Hampshire, and they turn it to cold and it's like freezing water. But as cold as you can stand it, and then just get the important body parts. Thank you for whoever was laughing. Armpits, groin, face, neck, back. My daughter and I do this together. Sometimes she participates, sometimes she doesn't. But it's just that last cold rinse all the way through. What will happen is you might feel cold in the minute, but then your body's going to heat right back up. I'm not sure if you guys know about the cold packs on the face. That's a very simple technique you can use in an acute situation of anxiety. If you're having a panic attack, you can place some cold packs on the face, and that can be really, really helpful at helping to calm down on the neck and on the face. You can take an ice bath if you'd like to do that. Most of us have access to a swimming pool. We do live in Arizona in the desert. And every year I would tell my husband, okay, we're going to do the cold plunge all the way through. Last year we made it to November before I started chickening out, but I was proud of myself. I made it into the pool in November, and that was really great. And even if you're just sticking the feet in the pool, the legs, work your way into it. But the benefits of cold are innumerable. I could spend a whole topic talking about that. Maybe that'll be my next year's conference presentation. Okay, kicking the caffeine. It says it right there, not for good. So I'm not saying that caffeine has to be gone forever, but caffeine is this beautiful double-edged sword. It gives us energy, and it's actually a mood enhancer. And, so many of us can't function without caffeine. However, it's also in the backside, just draining your adrenals of the energy, just slowly over time, taking your life essence away bit by bit by bit. And so I encourage you every so often to try to kick or nix the caffeine habit. For a lot of people, it's like the taste and not even necessarily the caffeine. So switch to decaf. But if you could take a day off every so often, if you can do a full week, watch out for the headaches, and it's going to be miserable, and your fatigue's probably going to crash a little bit. I know it sounds so tempting, but in the long run, the more you can withdraw caffeine from your body, the healthier your nervous system is going to be. And you can also use cold immersions for those headaches. Do we have to do all three? Thank you, Chris Harkson Lucero. I wanted to ask you guys, so what I want you to do when I'm going through all of these different topics is I want you to choose 2 of the things that I'm going to talk about today. So we're going to go through nervous system, digestive system, endocrine system, musculoskeletal system. What I want you to do is I want you to pick 2 of these things, these lifestyle things, and I want you to try to implement them over the next year. And what that means is it might be that you're gung-ho for the next 3 to 4 days doing your 30-second showers in the cold, and then you'll fall off the wagon. This is not about you spending time in that I'm never going to be able to do it. I can't even like do my own laundry or cook my own food. How am I going to finish my showers with cold? It's not about how not good at things we are. It's about how quickly you just hop back on. Let go of all of that negative self-talk and just start with the cold immersions again, or kick a day of caffeine. It's never too late to start. And don't spend so much time in that negative self-dwelling piece. And if you find that you do that, get help for yourself. There are so many people, as you have heard, these whole conference, people who can help you. Oh yeah, the cold immersion for the headaches, putting your feet in cold. When you submerge your feet into cold, you're going to have initial vasoconstriction. And then what's going to happen is the feet are going to try to vasodilate and bring all the blood flow down. That can help bring the blood out of the head for the headaches. That can be helpful. Okay, supplements for a healthy lifestyle. Supplements for a healthy nervous system. I just have 4 here. And I just want to say something real quickly about supplements. You pay for what you get. And I encourage you that you know the company that you're purchasing from is reputable. I have so many patients that bring their supplements into me, and they just have really fancy marketing campaigns, and it looks beautiful, and it like comes in a clear capsule and you can see the nutrients, or whatever gimmick they have. But basically supplement companies can put cardboard and sawdust into a capsule and call it whatever they want and sell it. There's nobody who's regulating this in the FDA. I think that's going to change eventually in the future, which is a bad and good topic for another day. But basically make sure that whoever you're buying supplements from has third-party verification, means that they have a lab outside of their own company that is testing the ingredients and making sure that what they put on the label is what is actually in the supplement. That's just really important. So I am going to share some of my favorite supplements with you. I will also give you guys access to, I have a Fullscript account. It's an online medicinary. My first responders get 25% off. You can purchase these anywhere, but just make sure you know what you are buying and where you are investing your money, because that will make a huge difference. Okay, so the amino acids are great for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons I like these essential amino acids is that they offer the precursors for a lot of the feel-good hormones in our brain, our serotonin, our sleep-wake cycles, and our melatonin. It's very supportive of all the neurochemicals that we have in the central nervous system. And so I love taking an amino acid complex. Thorne is just a really, really great company. They give a lot of free product and money to the school that I work at, Sonoran University of Health Sciences. And so I try to support them as much as I can. I think they just have stellar supplements, and they do really good work. I'm going to move that. So next is herbs. So herbs, a little bit of a caveat. If you are taking lots of medications, you need to be careful about herbs, because there can be interactions that are not so great for you. These herbs, holy basil, rhodiola, ashwagandha, schisandra, are awesome at nourishing the nervous system. They're great at helping for stress, and they have very minimal effects with different medications. Note, I didn't put any St. John's wort or any of those ones that can really mess with a lot of our medications. But if you're going to dabble into herbs, I recommend you work with somebody, work with like a health coach, work with a naturopath, send me an email. Herbs are very, very powerful, as a lot of our indigenous cultures know and realize and understand and still use today. But the rest of us need to get on the bandwagon and start using these herbs again. But just be careful when you use herbs. However, this product, it's from Needed. A healthy response to stress. I mean, it's for like women and pregnancy, but this is a great product for men as well. But it's a very clean product, and I think that Needed creates excellent supplements. Sleep support. So I included one of my favorite Thorne sleep supports. This has a little bit of chamomile, which is a very calming herb. Not many interactions there. Very like calming and sedative. Most of you might be drinking chamomile tea. A little bit of L-theanine, which is an amino acid. L-theanine is really high concentration in green tea, so it can be very, very calming. L-theanine is what allows the green tea to give you the focus without like much of the jitters. And so L-theanine is very commonly used now for anxiety, calming of the central nervous system. And this has a smidge of melatonin. So if you guys are using melatonin, try to use the smallest amount possible. You don't really need much. I prefer to use like liquid and just do it by a couple of drops. Your body does not need a whole lot of melatonin in order to sleep. And then acute stress relief. This is a homeopathic product. Those of you who know me know that I practice medicine and I use a lot of homeopathy in my practice. And one of the reasons that I do is that it's cheap and it works and it has zero drug interactions because it's so dilute. Those of you who don't know much about homeopathy, when you Google it, it'll say a bunch of hogwash that it's all placebo and blah, 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 blah. It's very controversial. But again, for another topic, I love using homeopathy acutely. Like I said, there's no interactions with any medications. If you find the right one, it's really, really supportive. So this Stress Calm Acute Stress Relief by Boiron is a really wonderful product that you can take just as needed. Okay, moving on to the musculoskeletal system. I mean, we all know this: pain, stiffness, limited range of motion, limited mobility, spasms, crampings, and look, what do you know? Fatigue is popping up here in musculoskeletal disorders, just like in our nervous system disorders. Fatigue is a really multifactorial thing. It's hard to identify because everyone is so very different. It's hard to identify root cause of fatigue for people, and that's again why I suggest you work with somebody that knows what they're doing, because they can help you identify that and help move you forward. Okay, so if we're looking for a healthy musculoskeletal system, therapeutic movement is by far the biggest bang for your buck here. By therapeutic movement, I mean just movement in general, but also specifically for the joints, specifically for the health of the fascial system, the health of the muscles, and the health of the skeletal system. Hydration is hydration. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Contrast hydrotherapy, I'll introduce you to that in a minute. And then floor sitting. This is a great one. So this one recently has popped up on my radar. I watched that Netflix Blue Zones How to Live to 100 documentary. It's a lovely little docu-series if you guys haven't read it. And they were talking about floor sitting, and I didn't realize, like, innately I gravitate towards sitting on the floor. Like when I go to like families or close friends' house, I don't really sit on the floor in other people's homes because it's not really accepted here. But like friends and family, like if they have the tile floors, I'm always like, I can't sit on the floor. But my daughter's 5, we're on the floor constantly, and the mobility for the hips and the low back is really, really fantastic. So before I get ahead of myself, let me show you just a few more tidbits about this. The therapeutic movement. Start your day with movement. So maybe you're more along the lines of you have so much body pain and so much fatigue that a little bit of motion to start your day would even be better than a little bit of mindfulness. And so maybe you decide to do therapeutic movement as the thing for you. And I recently feel like my daughter's 5, and yes, it has taken me that long to recover from like her birth and infancy and childhood and lack of sleep. So I feel like I'm really just starting to get the hang of my routine back again. And in the last 3 months or so, has it even been that long? Maybe a couple of months, I've been waking up early to exercise. And, like I had mentioned, fatigue has been a main thing for me since my daughter was born, and the lack of sleep, and I just don't function well. But I tell you, when I start my day with movement, the rest of my day is so much better. My head is clearer, my mood is better, I have more energy. I just really like starting my day with movement these days. So I hope that some of you guys will take that on. Hydration, you should drink at least half your body weight in ounces of water. We all know this. We live in the desert. Hydration is key. And then I love electrolytes. I think they are great. However, I never liked the taste of electrolytes. I always liked the theory and the thought behind electrolytes, but I think they taste like crap, especially if they're so sweet. And then LMNT came out with like these delicious It makes my mouth water because I think they're so tasty. Salty, and there's a number of other companies that are hopping on this salty electrolyte bandwagon. If you haven't tried them, give it a shot. They're truly delicious. And a half a pack of an LMNT or something like that will be fantastic for rehydration. Okay, contrast hydrotherapy. Contrast hydrotherapy is using different temperature water and applying it locally to the body. So if you have an injury, a muscle sprain or a muscle strain, most docs will say avoid heat, it causes inflammation. And, maybe in the very, very early parts of the injury, you'll want to put ice on it. However, if you're struggling with stiffness, if you're struggling with chronic and persistent pain, try the contrast hydrotherapy. And how it works is you apply to the area heat, whether it's in the source. Usually moist heat is best. So do like a damp, hot washcloth and then cover it with a heat pack or cover it with a heating pad. Do 3 minutes for hot, and then get some ice water in a different washcloth in the ice water, wring that out and apply the cold, or just dip it right into the cold water for 1 minute. And then repeat as many times as you feel is necessary. And always finish on cold. I'll repeat myself, always finish with cold. 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold, repeat like 3 times. Do that at night if you're having foot pain or knee pain or hand pain or whatever. Do it with your whole body if you have the ability, with a sauna and an ice bath or a hot shower and a pool. This contrast hydrotherapy, what it does is the heat vasodilates, and then the cold vasoconstricts, and then the heat vasodilates and the cold vasoconstricts. And what we're doing is we're shunting the blood flow to and from the injured area. And what that's going to do is just flush out anything that needs to be flushed out, bring in oxygen, bring in nutrients. It's just a really, really great technique for injuries, old injuries, new injuries, all the injuries. And then floor sitting, try sitting for 10 minutes on the floor. The first time you do it, if you're not accustomed to it, make sure you have a way to get up and out of your chair, off of the floor. You might need some assistance those first few times, but you might just be sitting on the floor, and you'll find that you're going to be sitting like super hunched over. And what we're looking for is getting back that natural curvature in the spine. So like, when you sit in a chair, when you sit on the floor, you should try to imagine yourself having a tail out from the tailbone and like pushing that back and making sure you don't sit on your tail, because that's the natural curvature of the low spine. And then just, move around, flop around, sit on the floor, have a meal, read a book, play with your kiddos or your dog or your animals. But shoot for like 10 minutes of floor sitting every night. And I bet you'll have more mobility in your hips and low back in just a couple of months. Okay. Supplements for a healthy musculoskeletal system. Here come those amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. They can be really very helpful to allow your muscles to regenerate, especially the essential amino acids, which are these. Those are 9 amino acids that our body doesn't produce, and thus we have to eat those, ingest them in order to have those amino acids within our body. And a supplement is a really great way to bring those into the body. Homeopathy, this product, Arnicare by Boy Ron, is for arthritis. If you have the joint stiffness in the morning, if you have the joint stiffness that improves the more that you move it, this product's going to be really, really helpful for you. Again, there's no side effects, there's no drug interactions. If it doesn't work for you, it just means the right homeopathic medicine for you isn't included in there. So they try to group the most common homeopathic medicines for the condition. This is a great product because most people with arthritis, I'm going to prescribe Rus toxicodendron, which is a homeopathic product, and they include that in there. So that's good. I'm sure many of us have heard about magnesium. We're all magnesium deficient. And that's because, our grandparents' broccoli was indeed more nutrient rich and healthier than the broccoli that we eat today, even like organic. And the reason that we have these mineral deficiencies is that conventional farming practices, or even organic farming practices, they don't put the magnesium back in the soil so that the plants can pull the magnesium from the soil and then we eat it. Unless you're composting, or unless you're working with a farmer that is composting, they're basically doing the main fertilizers like nitrogen and phosphorus and whatever else they put in the soil, but they're not putting back all of these trace minerals. And so if you're stiff, if you're achy, magnesium is a really great supplement for the body. And I prefer magnesium glycinate, and this is magnesium bisglycinate. But magnesium is a metal, so we don't absorb it very easily. Our bodies weren't designed to absorb metals. That's how we could steer clear of toxicities. However, in order to absorb magnesium, you have to attach it to something, and then your body can absorb it. And I love magnesium glycinate because it is attached to an amino acid, glycine, and glycine is incredibly soothing for the nervous system. It's like calming and pacifying, and it's also one of the most easily absorbed forms of magnesium. So I love magnesium glycinate or bisglycinate. And fish oils. Yeah, cod liver oil. Curious if you guys type into the chat, were any of you the kids that were raised force-fed a spoonful of cod liver oil at night? We are during the day in your childhood. We are moving away from that, but so many people, if you're from the South, so many people, if you have your grandparents grew up in like the early 1900s, you probably were exposed to cod liver oil. I like cod liver oil specifically because it has natural sources of vitamin A and vitamin D, which are both really helpful for the immune system. But these fatty acids, it'll take about 3 to 4 months for you to notice a difference in taking fish oils. But essentially, fish oil should allow your body to self-lubricate and be so much loosey-goosey. That's not the word I was looking for. It's just mobile with the fish oils. We eat fish oils at our house. My daughter just happens to love them. It seems almost like the fishier the better. I myself need a chaser after I take my fish oils. My favorite is to get like a bubbly LaCroix or something, bubble water, Topo Chico, what have you. And we'll take a swig of the cod liver oil, and then I like chase it down because I can hardly stand it. But I do prefer the liquid form over the capsules. I mean, if you have to digest the capsule and open the capsule and all the capsule, I mean, capsules are fine, but I much prefer if you just take the cod liver oil straight. So there you go. Okay, endocrine system dysregulation. My gosh, this could be another whole discussion in itself. When we're talking about dysfunction in the endocrine system, we're talking about hormone imbalances. And the main hormones I'm talking about are thyroid, adrenal or stress, like cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and then all the sex hormones. And so, low T is such a commonly talked about thing in first responders, in both females and in males. And, there are so many of these hormone clinics that have popped up all over the place. And you'll see one of my recommendations for supplementation is bioidentical hormones. But I urge a little bit of caution with using hormones. Hormones, I teach this to my students, will make you feel like $1,000,000. I mean, give somebody who's tired and low libido and just fatigued and run down a little bit of testosterone or a little bit of estrogen and progesterone, they're going to feel amazing. The problem is that with time, you haven't identified like why there's the imbalance or what's the root cause of the hormone imbalance. And they're going to increase more and more and more and more and more. And like, I see these people coming into my office and they're on like massive amounts of hormones, like 900 milligrams of progesterone. I would hardly ever prescribe more than 200, and that's rare. Usually it's somewhere between 50 and 100. But I mean, these hormone clinics are just pumping people full of hormones because it works in the moment. And you're like, amazing. But just be aware of it. Not if a little is good, a lot isn't necessarily better. With our endocrine system, we see a lot of metabolic disorders, weight fluctuations, sexual dysfunction. Oh, look, fatigue again. Fatigue is in every body system as a symptom. I did that to make a point in that it can be really difficult to identify the sources of fatigue. And my first responders, whether we're talking about dispatchers or whether we're talking about night shift workers, fatigue is such a huge piece. And multifactorial as to why fatigue might be a presenting symptom for you. Okay, here we go. Healthy endocrine system. If I had to have you choose one of these, I go back and forth between mastering the sleep-wake cycle. There's only so much some of you guys can do about that, or avoiding plastics. And I'm just going to go with avoiding plastics. My brother and I often have this discussion. I just saw him this weekend, and we had a discussion about health and disease nowadays and how sick people are. And my own personal opinion, there's other varying reasons, but I think it's because in the 1950s, they figured out how to make plastic and they plastified everything. And plastics are a huge endocrine disruptor, meaning that they go in and they wreak havoc on your endocrine system. They mostly function like estrogens, which if you're a male, that's not so great to have excess estrogens. If you're a female, you're looking at breast cancer and ovarian cancer and all sorts of things. Plastics are just like, ugh. And, now we're hearing about microplastics and how there's microplastics in our own body. So regardless, we can't go back in time as much as I wish I could go back in time and get plastics the hell out of here, but you can avoid them as much as possible. So if you are using plastics for your food containers, get rid of them. Find the glass containers. It's okay if it has a plastic lid. I just try not to put hot food in and then the plastic lid on top of the hot food. Like I'll just let it chill out a little bit, then put the lid on and store it in the fridge. If you haven't heard yet about not microwaving in plastic, I don't know where you've been for the last 15, 20 years. However, do not microwave in plastic. Please, for the love of all things good, do not microwave in plastics. It just leaches right into your food. And, I try to avoid plastics, but I go to Starbucks, I get the beverages and we get takeout and I just see our pho, which is one of my favorite takeouts. And it's just the broth is in the plastic container. And I'm like, oh my God, trying not to freak out, but try to minimize the amount of plastics. Don't drink out of plastic water bottles, get a glass one, get a stainless steel one. They're all over the place. So hitch it out of there. Monitor your hormones yearly. Actually, I'm going to go to the next slide because it says which ones to look at. Make sure you're checking your thyroid, your adrenal hormones. Your conventional doc, if you ask for like an AM cortisol, they'll likely run an AM cortisol, and your AM cortisol should be in like the teens. But most people who are like burnt out, you'll see a cortisol level of like 4 or like 6. And most people who are stressed the F out, their cortisol levels are going to be like 26. So you want to be right in the teens with that. Your thyroid, they should be monitoring your TSH. If your TSH is above like 3.5, if it's climbing 4, 4.5, 5, you likely have low functioning thyroid, which is likely related to stress in the adrenal glands. So the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, it's all connected. The thyroid and the adrenal glands and your brain are all connected. And then your sex hormones as well. So if you are not producing enough hormones, sex hormones, it's likely that your cortisol is taking all of your available cholesterol and making stress hormones. That's why managing stress and all of that is so important. We're talking even for libido and even for like sexual health and function. It's all related to stress and plastics. Avoid plastic and then manage stress effectively. I didn't even go into depth about this. I think that's what the majority of these conferences are focused on. And there's lots of resources available to you, but make sure that you are learning how to manage stress effectively. And it's a continual process. I am by no means any sort of like magician in my own health. I struggle. I go through bouts of stress. I go through lack of self-care. I eat hamburgers and French fries. And I go through all of that. But I think what separates me from, maybe just a common layperson is that I am continually trying to reroute myself. And I'm trying to go back to those healthy, lifestyle things that I know I should do. And I hold myself accountable because my patients are coming to see me and they're asking me, doc, what should I do? And if I'm not practicing what I'm telling them to do, I just feel like a full hypocrite and I just can't function that way. So, for me, I try to hop back on the healthy wagon as quickly as I can when I fall off, and I fall off just like the rest of the people do. Okay, guys. Sleep-wake cycle. Multifactorial. If you are waking at night, there's only so much we can do for you if you're waking at night, and that's like all first responders. But learning how to manage your sleep-wake cycle when you're off shift is really important. If you're not working nights, learning how to maximize your sleep as much as you can. Sleep is so regenerative for the body, and it's so dang important, and we take it for granted, and people sleep like 6 hours. They don't have good sleep, and they just snowball into this debt of sleep. And there's so many tips and tricks for how to do this. And again, find somebody to help you. I can't tell you how to do everything here, peeps. Okay, supplements for a healthy endocrine system. Same herbs as we saw with nourishing the nervous system, holy basil, rhodiola, ashwagandha. So rhodiola is a great herb. It's very uplifting. Ashwagandha is great at helping regulate sleep-wake cycles. Shisandra is very helpful for the adrenals as well, but also really helpful for the mood, which is why I love this product. There's also shatavari in there, which is great for the sex hormone production for both male and females. Liver support. So maybe it's not hormone deficiency that's the problem, but it can be hormone excess. A lot of us, we can produce the hormones, but our liver ain't getting rid of it adequately. And in order to get rid of your hormones, there has to be like different things that happen in the liver in order for it to actually eventually make it into your bile, and then you poop it out, right? And if your liver is sluggish, if your liver is downtrodden, it's not going to function very well. You might see like acne is a very common side effect of the liver not metabolizing hormones. And so this product by Thorne Liver Cleanse, it gives herbs where you can take it daily, and you can do a bottle a couple of times a year to just support the liver. I also encourage my patients to do like yearly detoxes or cleanse using foods. I have a handout. If you're interested, you can email me and I'd be happy to share that to you, or maybe I can give that to Kevin and he can post it with my my talk. Once a year or so, whittling down in your food from your normal daily food habits to getting rid of the allergenic foods, soy, corn, wheat, all the good, delicious things, getting rid of those for a couple of days, and then vegetarian diet a couple of days, and then you're down to just some fruits and vegetables for a little bit, and then working your way back up. And using a liver cleanse and maybe taking that more often can be just really like system resetting. We're moving into the colder months, so now is not the time to do a cleanse. However, come spring into summer next year, that's a great time to do a cleanse. And if you ever want or interested and need help with that, email me and I'm happy to help you guys. Here's that sleep support again. If we're not sleeping, our body's not regenerating, and it's our cortisol levels are going to be spiked, and our sex hormones are going to tank, and then our thyroid's going to try to take over to help, and then we're going to go hypothyroid, and it's all going to burn out. So starting with some sleep support might be the very first step for your endocrine system to get back on track. And then there's bioidentical hormones, and I already talked about those. I think they have a place in natural medicine. I think they are beautiful and they are wonderful and they can be helpful. But just be careful and make sure that you know that whoever is working with you knows what the heck they're doing, because like I said, hormones will make you feel like $1 million and then it'll stop working so well. Okay, last system, guys, is the digestive system. And this is a problem for a lot of us. One of like the core naturopathic tenets is that all disease and all health, conversely, begins within the gut. If you don't have a healthy gut, you don't have a healthy rest of the body. So you'll see the symptoms like irritable bowel and constipation, diarrhea, nausea, bloating and gas. Fatigue again. Again, I'm being silly. I added that to everyone. But any imbalances within your systems, you'll see that as fatigue. Said that like 100 times. Okay. So I wouldn't be a naturopath if I didn't put something about diet in here. I feel like I have to, so I eat a healthy diet. I'm not going to spend so much on a diet. It's so individual for everybody. What one diet approach works for somebody else, another diet approach doesn't work for the other person. And so if I were to say, if there's one diet approach, I would say, and it sounds kind of cliche, but it's the whole food diet. So gather your protein sources, gather your vegetables, gather your grains, gather your herbs, and then learn to chop those things up and heat them up and cook them into something that tastes good. That's whole food diet, whole food eating, as opposed to like opening a package, which I know sometimes we just have to do, and that's fine, but taking little tiny steps and moving towards gathering your ingredients, cutting them up and preparing them in a delicious way is just so much more better for you than opening the package. But again, I recognize we're all human. Okay, practice fasting. I tried not to repeat myself, but I think every single conference that I have done with Dr. Dara, the BluePaz, has included some form of fasting, usually intermittent fasting. It is I'm going to sound like slightly disordered eating here, and that's okay, but our bodies are designed to go without food. From the beginning of time, we're designed to go many weeks without food. And I'm not saying go many weeks without food, but we live in abundance now. Luckily, we're not in times of like, and we don't live in a country. I mean, hold on, I'm like backtracking myself here because there are people who are starving and hungry all over the US. And there are people who are starving and hungry all over the world. And, I just need to recognize that. But I also need to recommend that we are living in excess. And most of us who can afford meals, we can afford meals in abundance. And we have food everywhere. And we're constantly inundated with food. And even more importantly, is food provides such an emotional support for us. That immediate relief from stress, that immediate dopamine surge from eating something delicious and whatever that is. I get it, but what happens is our body searches for that quick fix over and over and over and over and over again. And then we're lacking the nutrients that are actually going to make a huge difference. Where was I going with that? Oh, yes. Practice fasting. So intermittent fasting is a really great way to do it. Maybe you want to just do a 24-hour fast. I would say arguably the two most challenging things that I have presented in here is to have your body go without food for longer than a few hours. I think is really, 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 really hard. And then two, sitting your butt down and meditating is really, 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 really hard. But the thing is once you actually start doing these sort of things and implementing it into your lifestyle, it becomes no big deal. So yes, practice fasting and then eat slowly. Here I am being hypocritical. My husband and I, it's like we're in a race to see who could finish eating first. He's a firefighter and that has been brought on by necessity for him. But like literally we inhale our food and I'm like, I'll look at my husband, I'll be like, are you breathing? And he's like, not really. I'm just like shoveling in the food. So simple things like putting your forks down, chewing your food mindfully, enjoyed a beverage with your meal, enjoying the conversation. But so I literally have to put my silverware down and then like let myself chew and then pick them back up again. So eating slowly, I'm working on it. That's when I'm working on it. And then kick sugar. I know not many of you are going to choose that one for your lifestyle thing, but if you can get rid of that devil. It's terrible. It's so bad for you. And you don't have to do it for good. And I, by no means, Dr. Dara knows this. I love my sugar. I love indulging in the yummies. But I just don't have a lot of them here at my house because I will eat them. And I try to avoid sugar as much as possible. I really started this about 3 to 4 months ago-ish. Avoiding chocolate. I used to every day reach for chocolate in the middle of my day because it would give me that little bit of boost to move forward. And I think that sugar can be really, really harmful in many ways for the body. Okay, supplementing a healthy digestive system. So I mentioned doing like a detox or a cleanse using this type of Mediclear powder. It's like a multivitamin with a gut healer and all sorts of wonderful nutrients. You can either pair this with like a cleanse and using this as a protein source during the cleanse. The handout walks you through all of that. Or you can just add this to like your daily regimen, maybe 1 or 2 times a year, I think is a really great way to get some added nutrients and to get all of the nutrients that are designed to coat and heal the digestive tract. If you do one thing for a healthy digestive system, I think it's digestive bitters. And it is exactly how it sounds. They're bitters. They're bitter herbs and they taste terrible. And you're going to try them and then you're going to curse me and say, why the hell did she recommend this? It's so terrible. But the whole reason most of us don't eat bitter foods because they taste nasty. But digestive bitters, it starts it kind of kickstarts the whole digestive system and it starts in the mouth with your salivation. And so that's why you have to taste the bitters. There are some capsules that you can take, but if you're taking the capsule of bitters, you're missing a whole part of how bitters are helpful for the digestive tract. So if you have constipation, if you have diarrhea, if you have gas, if you have bloating, 2 dropperfuls of digestive bitters in a little bit of water first thing in the morning. If you do like a thyroid med or other medications, you know, take your medication first and then go into your digestive bitters. But before you eat, before you start ingesting food, get some bitters in there, and it can really help move some things through, and can ultimately in a few months really be helpful to the digestive tract. But I don't think, I'm warning you, they taste like terrible. I know I'm really selling them, but they're very beneficial. There's a lot of products. I love homeopathy. Acidil is great for acid reflux. There's a number of combination products for homeopathy that you can use, and you can take this as needed and can be really helpful. And then herbal teas. Herbal teas have a host of digestive benefits. Dr. Dara and I are often sharing a cup of tea after dinners. My favorite is peppermint. He really loves a jasmine tea. But any digestive tea, lemongrass, peppermint, chamomile, fennel. These teas are so helpful for the digestive tract and can be really very calming. So maybe you drink a cup of herbal tea at night while you're watching your shows. Okay, so I'm done. This is one of my last slides. Okay, in a nutshell, our body systems do not function independently. It's all interconnected. If you're giving love to one body system, you're going to give love to the rest of your body system. So keep that in mind. You're going to make difference like across the whole board. Identify which body system is talking you to the loudest and start listening. Like, you know, our physical and emotional symptoms of our body are our canaries in the coal mine. They are attempting to tell us something's not right. Will you please listen? If this was like your child or your best friend or your mother, somebody that you really love, maybe your mother-in-law, maybe your father, I don't know, and they're telling you things are wrong, you're going to listen to them. So I would hope that you guys would extend that same love and courtesy to your own body. If you're struggling and you want to make a change, get someone to coach you. Get a health coach, a lifestyle coach, a naturopath, you know, any of the therapists here to get started. Have somebody help you implement and hold you accountable. If you're paying somebody money, you're more likely going to stick to the recommendations than not. Although I have some patients that like I've been seeing for years and they hardly make a change, and I'm like, why are you even seeing me or paying me? And they just, I don't know, that just happens. But find somebody good and reliable who can coach you. And if you guys want recommendations, I'm happy to recommend providers for you. And then again, just to reiterate, lifestyle changes are infinitely more helpful than supplements. And I know we don't ever want to do the work or put forth and do the work, but if you do, it will be infinitely more helpful than just putting the capsule in your body. I think that's it. Thank you, Dr. Dar, for having me on your conferences. I always really love it. I love sharing information with you. I hope that these things are helpful. I'm available to you guys if ever you have any questions. Just email me. I may not respond in that moment. It may take me a few days, but I will always respond. I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. Oh, and then I'll put into the chat the full script link if you're interested in purchasing supplements. You can get those anywhere that you want to. But yay! Oh, thanks for all the love, everyone.
That was awesome, Dr. Rice. Thank you.